is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That, of course, if you didn't know, was Hammerfall. It's brand new Hammerfall, of course. The name of that song was called Testify. It's from the new record called Dominion, and I don't even know if record is an appropriate term anymore. But
it will always be a record.
It always will be to me, but these younger kids, they want it to be called a release or something else. But, of course, the person on the other end of this, Skyping in from Sweden, is Joacim Cans, the vocalist of Hammerfall. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I am excellent, man. I'm always excellent when I get new Hammerfall in my hands, man. You guys are awesome. You guys are one of those bands that, you know, there's a few of them out there in the history of time that you just get a record and you know what you're getting. You guys are like the AC/DC of power metal, so to speak. You know?
Yeah, you should never actually change the content of anything. Imagine you go in and you buy a can of beer, and your favorite beer is a Budweiser or a Coors Light. I'm just joking, but you buy a Coors Light and you open up the can and it's tonic water in there.
Right.
You're gonna really disappointed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's why you should not change a winning concept.
Exactly. And you know what? There are bands that do try to make changes, and for some bands, I will say it works, but for other bands, it's just a formula for failure. I mean, bands that it works with, obviously, you know, a band that I know you are highly influenced by, Judas Priest. They have definitely taken chances and tried different things here and there, and it's worked for them. But for the very most part, you can almost look at any band that has a long catalog, a long career like yours, and you can point to that record where they said, well, we're going to try and be more modern, or we're going to go more artsy, or we're going to do this. You can almost point to that record as when they just dropped, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I think there's also a band that they try once and they failed miserably, but then they went back to the roots again, and then it worked.
Sure. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, Judas Priest. They tried it with Nostradamus, went a little crazy with their thing, and we're like, uh-oh, this didn't work. Let's go back to doing what we do.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry about that. We're going to, redo it. I just want to say one thing. You said about, releasing an album, and now they just release songs. I mean, Hammerfall, we don't write songs.
Sure.
We write albums. That's the way we roll. I mean, I hate that. Like, okay, now we're going to release a new song. Like, a new song? How many, I mean, the thing is, when you sit down and you compose an album, I mean, there's so many things you have to think about. Okay,
right.
You have to start off with this type of song, and then you need some kind of a ballad in the middle somewhere, just to get people more kind of relaxed, or go to go to the bathroom, or go and grab a beer. So it's so well thought out.
Sure, and I've always wondered, I mean, this is obviously the new way because of the way music is sold these days, where a lot of bands are moving toward doing a single here and a single there for single there. You're not going to record it like that. You're not going to get together in the studio once every 3 months and record one song. That's a little silly. What would end up happening is you would record 8 to 10 songs and then put them out slowly over 2 years. Well, I would imagine for a guy like you that's immensely creative, by the time you got to the third or fourth song, you'd be like, I've had enough of those songs. I'm ready to move on to the next phase, no?
I mean, that is the feeling I almost have right now, sitting here. And, it's, I'm not sure what day it is now, but we recorded this album earlier this year, and now I'm talking about something that I kind of left behind me.
Sure.
When I was done in the studio in March already.
Right. Sure.
So imagine releasing song number 12 in 2 years. Like,
right.
I'm going to hate that song. Like, you know what? I probably just moved on. I mean, and you're working on something else, and you can't really. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still an album person. I think that is.
Well, and I think for your band especially, or not only, but as Hammerfall, you guys do not write what I'll call singles either. It's not like you have It's not like you go to a record and you say, okay, well, these are the 2 hits, and then there's these. You guys
we try.
Well,
we
yeah,
try.
But ultimately, though, Hammerfall, as a fan, you guys are very much a start at song number 1 and listen through. You guys are an album-oriented band where the records make a lot more sense if you listen to it from start to finish. I mean, yeah, everybody can listen to Hearts on Fire and go, okay, kick-ass song, and that's obviously probably the biggest song that you guys have had. But if you didn't listen to the whole album, all you know is that song. You probably don't even understand what Hammerfall actually is.
No, that's true. That's true. But of course, we don't really, like you said, we don't write hit singles like that. Sit down and make a plan how to get more airplay. Right. It doesn't really work like that. I think the first and foremost, you try to, the first song you release, you want to ease the eager from the true fans.
Right.
You want to satisfy them, give them something. Then you release something just before the album, something that is maybe a little more representative for the album itself, and that will make a good video.
Right.
Because nowadays, if we would say, no, we're going to write, a song that goes, on that works on mainstream radio, then we need to change styles.
Sure.
Big time, because people are just laughing at us if we would come to like a mainstream radio station and say, hey, listen to this. Dual guitars, double kick drums, and high falsetto vocals.
Right.
Hey, you want to play this?
Right. You'd need a rapper in the band to do that these days, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we can get this guy A$AP Rocky. He's in jail in Sweden right now, so he's just a couple of streets from me here. I can, call him or go visit him.
Very nice. Well, Joacim, obviously 11 albums in, Hammerfall is still as creative as ever, still sounds as inspired as ever. Is it still as exciting for you, not necessarily to put out a record, but to get back together after an album cycle and after a little break and start creating new music and start creating stuff that is distinctly Hammerfall? Is that still exciting for you?
I would say it's more exciting than ever before at this point. I think with Hammerfall, we are at the perfect place. Okay. Both on stage and off. I think what we're doing now that we realize that we need to be friends also off stage.
Okay.
We need to get along in between the shows. And I think we learned that the main difference was on the previous tour, on Build to Last. We decided to focus a lot on North America. So we did two consecutive tours within a period of 12 or 13 months. And being on tour in the US is so much different than being on tour in Europe, because the tour buses over there is a little more, they're bigger because you're a street. Everything is bigger in the US. You know that? Yeah. And the roads and the buses. So, we spend so much time together, and we realized that a market that we thought was, totally dead for us was actually starting to simmer a little bit.
Okay.
So we decided to go back a year later, and then it was starting to boil a little bit.
Okay.
And I think those two tours made a very big difference for us as a band.
Sure.
Because we also realized, like I said, that we needed to do things outside of the stage. So if we had a day off, one day we just took a rental car, we drove from Phoenix up to Las Vegas, and we met the Journey guys. We saw their show. Okay. We flew back the next day to Dallas for the next show. Hungover, but it worked, and we had a lot of fun. So I think we are really at a very, very good place. What we also did for this album was that we started to be creative on tour.
Okay.
The artwork, the artist who did the artwork for this album, Sam Didier of Blizzard Entertainment, he told Oscar at one point, Oscar, it's ABC, always be creative.
Sure.
And he picked that up. So he kind of built a little mobile studio in the back of the bus, and I was sitting in the front of the bus being creative while on tour. This never happened before, because we, as a band, we found like a momentum, so to speak. We had so much energy, and I think we were able to direct this positive energy from stage into the tour bus. And sometimes Oscar just ran off stage, gave the backline guy his guitar, grabbed a beer, went, back into his little studio, picked up this little, traveling guitar and started to riff.
Right.
Because he had so much energy,
Sure.
this energy boost from the audience. And I think that is kind of something you can hear on this album, that there is a lot of vitality. There's so much power, so much energy. And we're close to 50 years old.
Right. Well, and that's always been the thing too, is you guys, maybe here in the U.S. they don't understand it as much as the European market does, just because you get to be seen more over there. But Hammerfall's a live band, first and foremost. If you haven't seen Hammerfall, then you can listen to every record in the catalog and you won't get what you guys are about. But to have, I've seen you guys, I think 4 times, and going back is, I think it was 97, 98, whenever you guys opened for Dio, whatever.
That was 2002.
Was okay.
The Dio.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
That's when I first saw you guys play, and going from somebody that had heard a few of the records to seeing you, perform, it was like night and day. It's a whole new energy, and you guys are one of those bands that the energy that you put off of the stage is very, very infectious. It makes nobody goes to a Hammerfall show and sits there with their arms crossed and just waiting for it to end. Even if they're not a fan of Hammerfall, by the end of the night, its fists are pumping and you're chanting, hey, 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 with you guys and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, it's part of the experience of Hammerfall to see you guys live.
I mean, that's the meaning with the music that we write. I mean, our Hammerfall's music and the songs we write are meant to be performed live.
Right.
And we also try to write songs that we can play live. We don't make it too complicated and add too many weird things that we're standing there like, well, this song is impossible to play live. Well, of course, there are some songs that are so high-pitched. I wouldn't last, more than two days on tour without losing my voice. But that's another different story. Of course, it's very contagious, and we also invite the audience to be part of the live show, and I think that is important. So that you come up on stage, people scream, they give us something, and we start to play, we give them something, and it's kind of we bounce this energy on and forth.
Sure.
We did a big show in Sweden a couple of days ago, and I read a review, and the journalist was a little upset or disappointed that it was way too much sing-along parts. This is a metal show. This is not a sing-along, she said. Well, Hammerfall has been a sing-along metal show for 22 years.
Right.
That is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that was way too much sing-along. But, I mean, every chorus, every melody is like a sing-along part in our music.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, don't you think, though, that I sort of get what they're saying there, because in fairness, and I'm not saying this about you, but I will say about a lot of older bands that the vocalist starts to lose their ability to sing, they mask it with the sing-along part and holding the microphone out to let other people do that. That's obviously not the case with you, but I think a part of it too, and it just sounds like this. I would bet anything this is a younger journalist that wrote this about you. This is probably a person that grew up on the grunge era, on the Deftones and Korn and whatnot. And this is not me shitting on any of those bands, because I like those bands, but they came from a place where the audience didn't exist. It was just they play their set, they play their 14 songs or whatever they play, and they leave, and they don't incorporate the audience to it. You guys and the style of music, not just you guys, but anybody, whether it's you guys or Primal Fear or Judas Priest or, Dream Theater, whoever it would be, came from a different era, an era where it was a big arena, it was a big party. It was almost like you play a big show, but you try to pull everybody into the show. And that's a lost art, I think, these days. Most of the more modern, newer bands just don't embrace the crowd like that. They don't bring it in, and I personally believe, and I'm curious if you do as well, that's the reason why most of them don't last as long as bands like yourself that have almost a quarter century of history because you've incorporated the fans to the music and to the shows.
I think what we do, we write the music that we would buy ourselves if someone else, wrote the songs.
Right.
And I'm behaving the way on stage that I would like my heroes or whatever band is coming to town, the way I want them to interact with the audience and to interact with me. Mm-hmm. Not only is singing an art form, but also being a frontman is an art form.
Of course.
And you have to work on that a lot.
Sure.
So, I mean, that has been one of my really biggest missions, in our live performances, to have something to say in between the songs. Mm-hmm. Not only like, hey, how are you doing? You want to hear some more?
Right.
Cheers or whatever. Just
say the
bullshit.
City name to get some pop or whatever.
Or just, say the wrong city name and to pick a fight.
Right.
No, I also with the grunge era, I think that was what I hated the most. No offense to, any of the bands, but I mean, coming up on stage and they kind of had this invisible wall, like a theater wall. Mm-hmm. When I did theater, of course, that wall was nice to have because you're not supposed to interact with the audience. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at a live show, I want to see the people. I want to see the expression.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You never saw that, so that would never work for me. But on the other hand, we got 2 reviews this weekend.
Okay.
One, she loved it.
Great.
She loved everything I did. It was perfect. And the other one said the total opposite. So.
Well, whatever, but at least they're writing about you. I mean, that, in the end, that's what matters, is at least your name is out there for people to go like it or hate it. They can go and listen for themselves, right?
If there's nothing negative out there, you mean nothing.
Right.
Then you're nothing. As simple as that. I don't actually, I'm not sure why I read these reviews. I try to avoid reviews because I'm getting so upset when I read the negative ones. Right. At the same time, I'm kind of a junkie, so if there's a good review, I'm like, hey, come on, I'm going to show it to the world. Right. And then there's one, if there's 99 good reviews and I'm getting one negative, it's kind of emotional suicide for me. So I shouldn't read them, actually, but it's really hard to not do it.
I hear you, man. Well, dude, let's talk a little bit about Dominion, because I know we're talking a bunch about touring, but you do have a record that is kick-ass that people should be checking out called Dominion. Very much what you'd expect from Hammerfall. Very much like you said, it feels very live. I noticed that you worked with James Michael again, as you did with Built to Last. What did he bring to the table that you liked enough last time to bring him back this time?
I mean, this is actually album number 4 that
really?
I worked with him.
Okay.
Yeah, he did Infected, Revolution, Built to Last, and now Dominion. So,
okay.
I mean, we were really good friends, at this time.
Sure.
And I trust him as a producer.
Okay.
Because he is a singer himself.
Sure.
And he knows how it is to be on the other side, behind the microphone, struggling. You doubt your your capabilities, like you're downsizing your talent. You're killing yourself sometimes. When he knows how to drill me, he knows what buttons to push to make me perform at my best at all times.
Okay.
And I need someone like that who's pushing me without pushing me, in the wrong direction, making me feel, bad. Some producers I worked with, they would just say, you know what, this sounds like shit.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm a singer. I can't really change my vocal cords, can I? A guitar player can just get another guitar. Yeah, that sounds better. Right. Let's record this guitar. But for me, it's like, okay, I sound like shit. And then you're a drama. Of course, there's a lot of drama going on. And you're like, okay, I'm a horrible singer. You feel that sometimes. No, with James, it's just like it's very comfortable. And we have such a great setup. We have such a great cooperation going on, the way we work in the studio. And I would say the whole team around Hammerfall that started with Infected, that became kind of complete and perfect with Built to Last, is also what we have now.
Okay.
That everyone involved in the production is highly valuable for the end product. And it wouldn't sound the same without them.
Sure. Now, I'm curious with James, does he just work with you, or does he also work with the arrangements and stuff, or do you leave that to Oscar and?
Now all that is done. All the like the musical parts we record in Sweden.
Okay.
And partially with Fredrik Nordström, Studio Fredman.
Oh yeah.
He's doing the drums and he's doing the final the mix. And then we have Pontus, the other guitar player, who is a sound engineer, producer,
sure.
Very, very talented. And Oscar knows exactly what he wants. And that team together, I mean, they create magic on their side. But when it comes to vocals, I know what I want to have. First of all, I want to leave town.
Right.
I want to leave Stockholm. I want to go someplace else. And luckily, James lives in Los Angeles nowadays.
Right.
And it's not too bad to go there and work a couple of weeks once in a while.
Sure.
So, no, we only do vocals, mainly lead vocals and some like gang vocals, like the backing, the shout choirs.
Right.
And then we do the rest back in Sweden.
Is there any band on this planet that Fredrik hasn't worked with? He's in every band. He's either in every band or worked with every band.
I mean, he's really... I mean, he meant so much for the Swedish music scene.
Sure.
And I would say death metal without the Gothenburg sound, that he invented the Gothenburg sound,
sure.
That changed the whole, I think, the melodic death metal forever.
Mm-hmm. No, agree.
I mean, he's such a great guy. And with drums and the mix, that is his trademark.
Sure, no question, man. Well, Joacim, obviously the first single is a very cool tribute to basically all that is metal, which is We Make Sweden Rock. You know, talk a little bit about that song and why you guys decided at this point in your career to kind of pay homage to, you know, the other bands that kind of developed your sound from.
This just, I mean... My brain is working kind of it feels like my brain's on speed at some time. I'm getting all these weird ideas. And
right.
I was just walking around one day and you know in the forest around where I live, and I'm like, shit, we should do a tribute song like Sweden Rocks or Sweden Rock or you know something like that, and build the lyrical content out of references from other bands.
Okay.
And then we should make a video where we, you know, collect photos from all these bands and other bands and just make it like a big, gigantic tribute to Swedish hard rock and heavy metal. And then I called Oscar and said, you know what? I have an idea.
Right.
And I presented this idea and he loved it. So instantly he came up with a guitar riff. He put all the things together, sent it back to me. And instantly when I heard the guitar riff for the chorus, the melodies just came.
Sure.
So this was a song that it was kind of not intentionally written. It just, we didn't really plan for it. But since I had this idea, we kind of created this together from more or less nothing. And it turned out to be, first of all, in my opinion, it's a great song.
Sure.
It has a really catchy chorus, but the video, I just love the video, you know, because then we got... so every time I sing in the video, there's a photo of someone, and what I'm singing is a direct reference to that band on the photo. So what I'm singing in the beginning of the song, I remember the day when the winter came back in 1969. Okay, winter, November. The band is called November.
Sure. And
they started out in 1969. With Hearts Made of Stone, they paved. Okay, the first song they had was My Heart Will Be Made of Stone. Okay. So, and then we go to the next band, and it moves on like that throughout the whole song. So, now I just wanted to show the people, you know, kind of to present Swedish hard rock and heavy metal to the world. Bands that maybe are so obscure, most people never heard of them.
Sure.
Maybe some bands never made it out of the little small town in the middle of nowhere, in the north of Sweden, but they meant something to us, and they meant something to me.
Absolutely.
And this is kind of just a way to show the world, well, you know what, maybe you should check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's one band called Universe that Oscar never heard, and now he's like, how could I miss this fantastic band, you know?
It's awesome. That's very cool, man. Well, one thing on this record, and I guess it's not a change, but maybe it's a change sorta, is that David Wallen came back. He left, I guess, for a minute and then came back. You know what happened there between Built to Last and now?
Well, he left, because of personal reasons.
Okay.
His family situations didn't really allow him to be away more or less constantly.
Okay.
And since we decided to really step up and tour more, like I said, we did 2 long tours in North America, and for him that was impossible. But during the after he left, we got another drummer, and during that tour, I think he kind of managed to fix the family issues that had to be fixed.
Sure.
And we actually called him and said, David, is there a chance that you could come back?
Right.
And he said, yeah, actually it is. Because now things are working, smooth. He has kids, small kids, and,
sure.
It didn't really work. And then we said, you know what? Then you are welcome back.
Okay.
And he came back, and I must say that his drumming on the new album is, it's crazy. It's wicked. It's fantastic.
It's not only fast, but it's the sound, and I don't know if that's a mixing thing or if that's his playing thing or a little bit of both, but it might be the biggest drum sound you guys have ever captured on a record.
Yeah, I think it's his, the way he beats the drum, he plays on the drum, and of course Fredrik Nordstrom.
Right. Yep, you're absolutely right.
I think it's a combination. I think like David is so driven. I can't compare him. I would compare him with the drummer we had on the first 2 albums, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
But Patrick was a very unpolished diamond. Meanwhile, David is kind of the perfect version of Patrick.
Okay.
And he's exactly the drummer we need for this type of music.
Sure. Definitely.
So, now he's fantastic. So solid and so good and creative and energetic.
Sure. Now you mentioned that previously that the issue was the long tours. Well, I just got an email maybe an hour and a half ago saying that you guys are going out on a fairly long tour with Sabaton, here in the States. Is that going to work for him? It's
going to work for him. Okay. Absolutely. And we also announced the European tour next year, and we have so many other tours,
sure,
in the pipeline. So it's going to work. People just have to realize that at home. Like, hey, you're going to miss my birthday. Well, I miss all your birthdays in the past.
Right.
Who cares if I miss this one?
Right.
I just, I realized that a couple of years ago that I'm going to miss all, weddings, funerals,
mm-hmm.
Birthday parties, because I'm on tour.
Right. Sure.
And I just have to live with it.
Yeah, I mean, and you and probably everybody in the band, you're not the kind that are going to cut your hair and go sit in a cubicle 8 hours a day. That's just not what you do.
Well, no. Oh my God, that would be emotional suicide to me. Maybe one day I would cut my hair. I don't know. We'll see about that.
Right? You don't have to tell me. I got mine in a ponytail, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I do have one question that goes back in time now that time has passed. And I asked you this question when it was released, and I'm going to ask you the same question again now that time has passed because I'm curious. When you did Infected, changed the art completely, changed the look completely. At the time, you told me that you guys were trying something creative and that you just wanted to draw a line between the old and the new. Looking back at it now, mistake, or are you glad that you did that?
I would say it was a mistake, but I'm glad that we did that. That is the answer to that, because that led to many things that eventually made us, decide to take a break.
Okay.
Because I think that album got misunderstood just because of the album cover.
Right.
The people said, "Oh, I hate that album." Have you heard it? Well, yeah. Well, I heard half a song.
Right.
Okay, so they judged it by the cover.
Right.
You should never do that. And I think everything that came with that album was actually pretty bad because we're going through rough times. I think Hammerfall in 2011, 2012 were at a very dark place.
Okay.
We for the first time in the history of the band, we got a manager that didn't work.
Okay.
We fired him and got a new manager. Didn't work. We lost so much money. Everything was, totally, it was fucked up totally.
Right.
And we took the break. And when we came back after the break, I think we realized that what we had done up until Infected and also with Infected, that is what we do. I mean, we are Hammerfall and this is what we do. As simple as that.
Right.
And I also came to the conclusion that I've been traveling around the world, like 6-7 times. I've been to more or less every city all over the globe, but I haven't experienced anything. I haven't seen anything.
Right.
So then I also decided to make a change, to be a little more adventurous,
Okay.
to enjoy life a little bit more.
Sure.
So if we had played the cards differently with Infected, maybe this break would never have happened. And
Makes
if
sense.
the break would never have happened, I don't think we would be here today.
Well, I, for one, am glad then that it did happen because I'm loving what you have done. I loved Built to Last. I really loved Built to Last. And I don't have enough time with this new one yet other than to say I've given it, 7-8 listens, and it's everything that you would expect from Hammerfall. I certainly encourage everybody to listen to it. And Joacim, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the record and maybe tell us a quick story about it. So what would you like us to wrap this one up with?
Oh, like I said, we write albums, not songs. So this one will be hard. No, why don't you go for the little outsider song, the last track of the album, and Jedi Smile?
Okay.
Which is a very, it's not a daring song, but it's a little bit different. I think it's very epic, and it's also the perfect song, like the perfect closing song for the album, making the listener wanting more.
All right. Well,
so maybe this will be the perfect song to wrap up this interview. And when people hear this, they will probably, hopefully get the same feeling as I do, that they just want to have some more Hammerfall after this.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now. This is Hammerfall. It is And Yet I Smile right here on your Classic Metal Show.